Okay, guys. So today we are gonna be working on the speaking section. We'll continue on what we started with yesterday, which is the speaking question number 2, right? Of the speaking question number 2, which was the university questions. So today we'll practice as it's our practice session, and we'll be doing different questions. I'm gonna be giving you guys some tips, and we'll also be looking at different types of questions because it is true that the format is usually the same, but there are a few exceptions, okay? Like maybe 5% of the time you may find some differences. So we're gonna be seeing that today. So let's see. Remember for this question, you have to first read the text, read the announcement or the letter. Then you have to listen to the conversation, and then you gotta summarize everything, right? Focusing on the student's opinion and his or her reasons. Do you guys have the template? Do you want me to maybe show it to you guys so you can take a screenshot?
Yes, please.
Okay, because I'm gonna ask you guys to use a template. You have to use a template exactly like it is for today's test. And let's see. Okay. So here it is. Please take us, oh, hang on a second. Things that you don't need to say for today's class. You don't always have to use these words since and for, so I'm gonna just eliminate those words. But everything else, I'm gonna require from you guys to use this template exactly like it is. Okay, so please take a screenshot of this. We're gonna be working with this template. Is it okay? Everyone ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, good. In that case, let's just start practicing. Okay, how many seconds do you guys have for reading the text?
45.
Exactly. So, starting now, you guys will have 45 seconds to read this text.
I don't like the university's plan.
Really? I've ridden those buses, and sometimes there were only a few people on the bus. It did seem like kind of a waste.
I see your point, but I think the problem is the route's out of date. It only goes through the neighborhoods that have gotten too expensive for students to live in. It's ridiculous that they haven't already changed the route, so it goes where most off-campus students live now. I bet if they did that, they'd get plenty of students riding those buses.
Well, at least they're adding more parking. It's gotten really tough to find a space.
That's the other part I don't like, actually. Cutting back the bus service and adding parking's just going to encourage more students to drive on campus. And that'll just add to the noise around campus and create more traffic. And that'll increase the need for more parking spaces.
Yeah, I guess I can see your point. Maybe it would be better if more students used the buses instead of driving.
Right. And the university should make it easier to do that, not harder.
Okay, guys. Now, the man expresses his opinion of the university's plan to eliminate the bus service, state his opinion, and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. Now you'll have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, guys. So who wants to go first?
I can try, Andrea.
Great, yes, of course. Yeah. So please, you may start now.
Okay. And the student in the conversations is against of the idea of eliminating the free service of the bus. First of all, he explains that if there is a few students that use this service, it is expensive, and he suggests that the bus can change their route. And in addition, he believes that if the university expand the parkings, it will be more traffic, and a lot of students use the service of the bus instead ride. So for the university, eliminating this service is more easy for the university, but not harder.
Okay. That last sentence though, eliminating the service is easier for the university, but not harder.
I heard that at the end of the conversation.
Okay. So one thing, I like everything you said was good, but make sure that you don't always say what you hear, but it also has to make sense in the context of the conversation, right? So you cannot say that eliminating the service is easier for the university, because that would be agreeing with the university's plan of eliminating the service, right? Be like, yes, you go ahead and do that because it's easier. No, and you have to remember that the man is against this plan, right? So the man cannot say that, and you should not say it either. All right, careful with those things. Remember that it has to also make sense in the context of the conversation. So aside from that, I think it was a great response. You used the template really well. You summarized the ideas amazingly. And I like personally the way that you connect the ideas implicitly, as I was telling you yesterday, right? So for example, you said the student explains that if they are going to add more parking spaces, then I don't know, this will increase the traffic, right? There will be more traffic. So that's a great way of connecting ideas. So well done. That's the only thing that I'd say. Just careful with what you say, make sure that it makes sense. And also careful with the grammar, right? Remember that it's not, it will be more traffic, but there will be more traffic, right? Careful with those things. But well done, Pansy. Great response.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, sure thing. Okay, now let's do this one here. Remember, it'll be the same. You have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the article.
I just don't think this will work.
Why not?
Because it's not going to solve the problem. Students are busy at night. I mean, we have jobs, families, clubs, social events. Most of us already have something to do every single night of the week.
I see your point. I sure couldn't fit anything into my schedule during the week. I've got swimming practice most nights.
Right. And as far as expense goes, I think they're going about it the wrong way. I mean, it costs money to hire more teachers and keep the academic building open later, which is a lot more expensive than just simply buying more computers.
More computers?
That's right. Computer prices have come way down the past few years, so the department won't have to spend as much now as they did in the past. Besides, the computer department classrooms, you know, the rooms themselves, they're actually very big. There's plenty of space to add more computers.
Okay. Now the question is, the computer department is considering a scheduling change. Explain the man's opinion of the change and the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. Now you guys will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Nicolas, do you want to go now?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The man said that he's not he doesn't agree with the computer department changing the schedule because it will not solve the problem. He says that in the night they have a lot of things to do, like going with their family, or or of homework or parties, etc. And he says they should buy more computers in the room of computers. They have plenty of space.
Hey, perfect. I loved your response as well. I like the
Thanks.
fact that you were able to identify the two reasons. So at night, students have other activities. They won't be able to take the classes at night. And second, they have plenty of space in the laboratory, so they can just buy more computers.
Yeah.
Great. But maybe I can give you the first one. try to always save some time in the introduction, so that way maybe you can explain, even though you made it in time, you can always explain a little bit more, your response can have a little bit more depth in terms of the reasons, and you can maybe try to contrast the ones from the reading to the ones with the listening, right? So save some time in the introduction, make sure that you always have that ready to go. The student in the conversation doesn't support, the student in the conversation supports, always, and try to use also the template, right? So instead of saying, and he says that, tell me, in addition, he believes or he states that, that will increase, that will improve your vocabulary too. Okay, so try to use a template and try to summarize a little bit more your introduction.
Okay.
Guys, do you have any questions so far? All right. So let's do this next one. It's the same. You guys have 45 seconds to read the text.
Did you see that article?
Yeah, and it sounds like a great idea. It's really good for the students in that program.
Don't they cook in class anyway?
Well, yeah, they do. But my cousin was in the program a few years ago, and she said that it's very different to cook for a lot of people in that kind of atmosphere than to cook for classmates.
Why is that?
Well, in class, you can take your time, but cooking for more people, there's more pressure. I mean, you're in a rush, people are waiting, and it might be easy to make a mistake with all that stress.
Then they'll think you're a bad chef, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, it's good practice. But what about the extra cost?
Well, look at it this way. You've eaten at some of the fancier restaurants in town, right?
Yeah, there are some great places to eat around here.
Well, these students, they'll be making fantastic meals, and it's going to be cheaper than going out to one of those restaurants.
Much cheaper, actually.
So, it'll be worth it. The meals will be as good as the ones in those expensive restaurants.
Okay. Now the man expresses his opinion about the university's plan, state his opinion, and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. Now you will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Alexandra, please
Okay.
start now.
Okay. The student in the conversation support the idea that change the dining hall at to campus dining club each last week of the semester. First of all, he explains that with this event, people can gain more experience. Because it's totally different to cook for just classmates or and for a lot of group of people. Additional to this, he mentioned about the fee, and it's not a problem for him because there are so many restaurants with a great food, and there the food is more expensive. So now the university he can eat fantastic dinners, but more cheap.
Great, but cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So responses, well, you guys are doing fantastic in terms of the time and the content. I guess nobody's having problems with understanding the ideas and expressing them and summarizing them. So maybe some tips I can give you. First one, in terms of grammar, careful. You only made one of these mistakes, so it wouldn't really matter that much. But anyways, in the beginning, right? So the student supports with the S. Careful with only word. And then what else? One more thing, careful also with the tenses, right? So for example, you said the student mentions about, maybe you could say the student talks about the price, and then you said he has no problem with that because he can eat, or now with this change, he can eat a fancy meal at a cheaper price. But although that seems okay, we're talking about something that will happen in the future, right? A plan for the future. So try to use future tenses or conditional tenses. So the student has no problem with this because he will be able to eat, right? If the university goes through with this plan, he will be able to eat a fancier meal at a cheaper price, right? So only that tenses, but other than that, it was a great response. Well done. Any questions so far? That's perfect. Then let's do this one here. It's the same. You have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the letter.
I totally disagree with Tim's proposal.
Why?
Well, look, Tim's my friend, but he's not your typical student. He stays up late partying every night, weeknights too.
If he parties every night, no wonder he can't pay attention.
Yes, and most students aren't like that. They come to class prepared and rested, and they can concentrate.
So you're saying the problem is really Tim?
Yes, he was in one of my classes last year, and whenever I looked at him, he was actually sleeping.
I guess if he's sleeping, he can't really know what's happening, what other people in class are doing.
Right. And you want to know what does happen in that last hour of seminar? In a lot of seminars that I've been in, that's when things get interesting.
Really?
Yes, that's usually when students get really involved in the discussion and start exchanging important ideas. And if the history department actually did what Tim suggests, well, if they did that, what would happen is you'd lose what might be the most worthwhile part of a seminar.
Now, the woman expresses her opinion about the proposal that her friend Tim made in his letter to the newspaper, state her opinion about his proposal, and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion. Now you guys will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Lorena, maybe you want to try?
Sorry, Andrea, I didn't read well the speech.
Okay, don't worry about it, Pansy, maybe.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
The student in the conversations is against the idea of reducing the hours of the seminary class. First of all, she explains that the students, if the students can concentrate, um, she talks about that there is a party every night, and it is important that the students found interesting thinking about the seminary. In addition, she thinks that if the students can stop the concentration, it is important that they don't lose the important plan of the seminar.
Okay. So in this case, maybe the content, right? The grammar and the delivery, the structure was great, but the content, careful with the ideas. So maybe what we can do, I noticed something. The way that you connect the ideas is with the conditional, right? You said first she explains that if students can concentrate, then if students, I don't know, lose concentration, you do that, right? But maybe we can change that so that it's more suitable for the question. So how do we connect ideas? Try to just turn these ideas into the negative form. So for example, the first reason that the student gives for reducing the number of hours in the seminars is that according to the student, according to this reading, students cannot concentrate for 3 hours, right? So say the opposite. Tell me, first of all, well, the woman in the conversation doesn't agree with this plan of shortening the seminars. First of all, she believes that students actually can concentrate, right? So I'm saying the opposite. And then you explain. You say, the only student that cannot concentrate is the one that wrote the letter because he parties every night. But other students are not like that. And most students concentrate just fine during the 3 hours because that was her idea, right? It's always the opposite of what you have here. So the reading says that students cannot concentrate. The woman says that they can. So it's the opposite. Same thing for the other one, right? Here, the student in the letter says that, he says that they last too long, right? And people stop concentrating and learning. So it's the same, right? It's basically the same. So do the same. In the second one, you can say, in addition, she believes that students actually don't stop concentrating after the 2 hours. They concentrate during the 3 hours, right? It is not a waste of time. So you say the opposite. And then you explain, right? You explain what was said in the conversation. So that would be my suggestion. Try not to use the conditional if, because it can be tricky. When you say if students can concentrate, it's like you're agreeing with the reading, you know? So try to say the opposite of what you have here. Students actually can concentrate. They concentrate just fine. Okay? I don't know if you get the idea. Do you?
Okay, Andrea. What is your question? I don't hear it all.
Is it clear? Do you get the idea?
Yes, I have.
Perfect. And let's do another one. Did this one already. So okay, this one here. You will have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the university's plan.
This article? Are they serious?
Yeah, I think so. Why?
Well, first of all, a lot of kids aren't looking for a relaxing break at lunchtime. They like to study while they eat, especially if they have exams coming up or some assignment they have to get done.
Yeah, that's true.
And now they won't be able to concentrate. This is going to be very distracting.
Okay. Yeah, I see your point.
And second, most students don't like classical music.
It's certainly not what I listen to.
So are people going to stop listening to their own music?
No.
I think people are going to be even more likely to bring their MP3 player, to play their own music and block out the classical stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, the man expresses his opinion about the university's plan, state his opinion, and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. Now you guys will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so maybe Lorena, do you want to try now?
Okay. The student in the conversation is against the idea of broadcasting classical music on cafeteria. First of all, he explains that this won't relax the atmosphere for the students, since this could be distracting for them. In addition, he believes that a lot of the students don't like classical music, so that's the reason.
Okay, Lorena, perfect. So no comments other than one comment, which is explain the ideas a little bit more. So in the first one you said, so broadcasting classical music in the cafeterias may be distracting for students, but the student gave more details, right? Tell me, because they usually want to study while they're eating, or they usually want to prepare for exams, or they have assignments to complete. Same thing for the second one. Also explain it a little bit more. You said students don't like classical music. That's correct. But so what? Continue, right, with the idea. Students don't like classical music, therefore, they are more likely to use their MP3 players or to their MP3 devices, and they won't actually connect with each other, which is what the university wanted, right? So explain things a little bit more, okay? You're just having one sentence per reason, but I want you to have at least 2 sentences, okay? So one sentence where you say the reason and the other one where you explain.
Okay, Amber.
Okay, guys, any questions so far? Good. In that case, let's do another one. 45 seconds to read the text.
two students discussing the announcement.
Read this announcement?
Yeah, and I disagree. I don't think it will actually help students.
Really? Why not?
Well, they talked about leadership and organizational skills, but that's not really the kind of work you do. Like my older brothers have the kind of jobs they're talking about, and typically you're just there to do basic tasks like typing or filing stuff. Nothing very meaningful.
Oh, so you wouldn't actually learn anything new.
Exactly.
I guess I see what you mean. But what about the other point they make?
About this helping us after we graduate? I don't agree.
How come?
Well, the problem is that there are lots of other universities in our area that have the same requirement, so there are lots of other students at these positions.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that.
So even if you take a position like this in a company while you're still a student, once you graduate, the competition for permanent jobs will be impossible. I mean, there just won't be enough jobs available for all the business graduates in the city who will be looking for full-time work.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. Now the woman expresses her opinion of the university's new policy, states her opinion and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion. Now you guys will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, guys. So please, Alexander, you can start now.
Okay. The student in the conversation, she's against the idea of the university require a work experience before graduation. First of all, she explains that the skills like organization or leadership, it cannot be necessary for the future job when they finish the university. In additional to this, she explains that there are so many universities that with the same requirements, so the competition when they are graduating, it will be impossible and it will be more difficult to find a job.
Okay, Alexandra, well done. So great. Two observations. The first one, careful with the content, right? In the first reason you said that the student said that these skills are not necessary for the student's future. But I think what the student said is that the type of work that these jobs make students do is not a job that like develops organizational or leadership skills in students, right? Because they just basically make you type or they just make you like organize boxes. So the student said that students who are gonna work or have this work experience won't really learn this type of skills because of the type of work that they ask students to do. And so that's it for content. It wasn't bad what you said though, because I like the fact that you created a contrast between the reading and the listening, right? You said the opposite of what you had in the reading. So actually that's a great strategy. And that's a tip. If you guys don't know, if you didn't understand one idea from the listening, then just say the opposite of what you had in the reading, as long as the student is against, right? If the student is in favor, then you just have to say the same. So that's a good idea if you didn't understand the reason. And the second thing for your introduction, careful with the grammar. So the student in the conversation is against the idea. Try not to say of the university required. Go directly to the verb. The student in the conversation is against the idea of requiring work experience before students graduate, right? Directly to the verb, requiring work experience. That'd be the only thing. Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Let's do another one. Yeah, you have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the letter.
Mary, you're an art student. What do you think of this letter?
I don't like the idea.
Why not?
Well, first of all, his first point about a lot of people passing through the student center, that's true, but it's always really crowded with people coming and going. It's not good for showing artwork. Imagine you're standing there, trying to look at a painting. There's going to be like a million people walking through. People walking in front of you, blocking your view, distracting you.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
You won't be able to appreciate the artwork or get a good look at anything with so much going on, with so many people moving around.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Plus, he's wrong about the windows.
But isn't it true that it's good for art to have lots of light?
In a sense, yeah. But that kind of light, all that natural light from windows, that's actually not good. Because if it's really sunny out, it'll be way too bright. If it's cloudy, it'll be way too dark.
Oh.
What you want is controlled light, consistent light, the kind you get from electric light bulbs. Think about in an art museum. In an art museum, you've got electric lighting, and the light is always carefully controlled, always at the same level.
Okay, now briefly summarize the proposal in the student's letter, then state the opinion of the student in the conversation about the proposal and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion. Now you guys will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, guys. So, Pansy, please. You can start now.
The student in the conversations is against the idea of displaying, painting, and other artworks in the lobby. First of all, she explains that if the university wants to ubicate these paintings in the lobby, a lot of students pass through the lobby and it will be always crowded. And in addition, she believes that if the university thinks that this place will be filled with natural light, and sometimes not very sunny, and sometimes it will cloudy, so not very light. In addition, she suggests that these displaying paintings it can be placed in the muse, so it can be more controlled.
Okay. The paintings placed in the news?
In the museum.
Okay, in a museum. Okay. I don't know if she suggests displaying the paintings in a museum, but she does refer to the museum to say that, to make the comparison, right? In museums, you have control light. So the natural light isn't really helpful, right, in this case. So great, Pansy, well done. Now, in this case, even though you continue using those conditionals to connect the ideas. So if a university wants to place this artwork in the lobby, then a lot of students pass through the lobby. So it will always be crowded and the students won't be able to appreciate the art, right? So it's good. I think it's working. Only comment for the grammar, careful with the there is, there are. Remember the negative form is there is not or there are not, right? So if you want to say no I, you have to say there is not instead of not there is. Okay, try to correct yourself every time that you're using it and try to practice. So practice like, I don't know, with everything that you see, right? You can see, oh, so there is no light. There is no sugar left. Okay, so try to practice using negatives so that you don't make those mistakes. Okay?
Okay, Andrea, thank you.
Okay, guys, sure. And let's do this one as well. Remember, 45 seconds to read.
The college is making a mistake with this new plan.
What do you mean? I think it'll really help accomplish the college's goals.
Don't be so sure. All that construction for 2 years, it's going to create a lot of noise.
Well, you mean in the beginning, for students still living in the dorms?
Yeah, students who are trying to sleep or do work are constantly going to be disturbed. So people will try to get as far away as possible, probably by moving off campus. So they'll lose even more people.
Huh, I hadn't thought of that. But still, once all the construction's over, more people will probably want to live in the dorms, right? I mean, the living conditions will be so much better.
If they can afford to. Do you know how the college is planning on paying for this plan? By raising the cost of campus housing.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so if it's more expensive, why would people want to move back into the dorms if they can rent an apartment for less money?
Guys, now the woman expresses her opinion about the university's plan, state her opinion, and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion. And now you'll have 30 seconds to prepare. Okay. So, Alexandra, please. You may go ahead.
The student in the conversation is a game of renovate that the dorms at the university. First of all, she said that the construction for 2 years, it will make a lot of noise for the people who live in the dorms right now, so they couldn't, so they cannot sleep or work. In additional to this, she explained that probably the cost it will be more expensive because there are some people who move to the dorms from apartment because they pay less money.
Okay, great, Alexandra, well done. Great response. So some comments I can give you. First one, grammar as well for your introduction. So this time it was better, but still, you said the student in the conversation is against of renovate, right? Tell me the student in the conversation is against the idea of renovating, right? So against the idea of, and then you have to use the gerund, renovating the terms. That would be one thing, sorry. And always practice the future tense of the word and of the verb can. So you say can in the present, could in the past, and will be able to in the future.
Okay.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Hey guys, sure. I don't know if we have time for one more. I think we can do one more, right? So everybody. So let's go with this one. Before we go, remember you have 45 seconds to read.
Now listen to two students discussing the article.
What do you think of the proposal?
I think it'll work. I mean, the range of the station now is basically limited to the campus, and so it's basically just a few programs, mainly for students.
Yeah?
Well, if this proposal goes through, there will be more programs, and it'll give the students more professional experience as they experiment with programming for a much larger, real-life audience. And stuff like that'll give them a better shot at getting a job after they graduate.
Of course.
Besides, the whole university will benefit from it.
What do you mean?
Well, you know my friend Tony, right? He told me that the radio station at his university did something like this about 5 years ago.
And?
Well, it's a success. They are making a lot of money out of commercials, and they are using it to offer more scholarships and to help fund projects to renovate the facilities of other programs.
That sounds really good.
Now, the woman supports the proposal described in the article. Explain why she thinks it will achieve the university's goals. Now you will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Lorena, please start now.
Okay. The student in the conversation supports the idea of making major changes to the college radio station. First of all, she thinks that the expansion of the station will be good for the students since they could learn or sorry, I blocked.
Okay, don't worry about it. It happens once in a while. The important thing is that you try to continue, even if you really don't know what to say, give a conclusion. Maybe you can say, so in short, the student in a conversation gives us some reasons or is talking to his or her friend from school and explaining the reasons that she or he has for not supporting the university's plan or for not supporting the change that is described in the article or for supporting the change, right? Even if you really don't know what to say, the important thing is at the end of the day that you demonstrate that you can speak.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so do you have any questions before we go?
No, Miss.
Guys, please don't go yet. We have to actually complete 2 surveys today. So I'm sending you the first. And when you guys are done with that one, I'll send the other one too. Okay. All right, thank you so much. Now I'm sending the other one too. And that'll be it for today's session. I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. We'll start a new question of the speaking section. Bye, guys.